What is going on, movie fans, and welcome back to my channel, MovieFiles. Elliot here today with a brand new review, and today we're talking about the new A24 romantic drama by the name of Past Lives. Now, this film premiered at Sundance earlier this year, to a lot of great things being said about it, and I was so excited to see it. I got a chance to see it earlier today because a couple weeks ago we had a special screening and I wasn't able to attend, so I said to myself, once this is available, I gotta see this film. I'm just a mere 2-3 hours away from having seen the film, having left that theater emotionally wrecked. We will get into why I was in that emotional state here in today's spoiler-free review. But first, I want to talk to y'all in the comment section. Let me know if you've heard of Past Lives and if you were excited to check it out. But more importantly, once you've seen it, let's talk about it. What did you like or maybe dislike about the film? What did you think about the direction, the story, the performances? Were you able to relate to the characters? Were you able to get emotional to the story? Did you not like the film? Let's talk about that in the comments below. So for me personally, I'm a big A24 fan. Not all their movies work for me, but the thing I love about A24 and why they're my favorite studio, they take risk. Even though all the risks don't always work, I love when a studio takes risks on their projects. You know, they house a lot of independent films, and I like to go into a lot of A24 films as blind as possible. Now, again, I had heard the great things about it out of Sundance. I had seen snippets of the trailer and the teaser, you know, for previews when I went into other movies. I really stayed away from locking into what is this story all about. So I went into it blind. Honestly, I came out of it blind because my eyes were damn near hard to see because I was crying so much. We'll get into that here in a bit, but let's talk about the director here. The writer and director of this film goes by Celine Song. Now, Celine's making her directorial debut. What a fantastic job, first and foremost. She did such a great job of crafting this emotional experience because the story's pretty simple. Again, not giving too much away, but we meet our two main characters at a very young age. They're like 10 or 12 years old. They're in Korea, and this is a quintessential your first crush, your first love. This is the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life. And we see this very just beautiful, young, just innocent relationship. But unfortunately, our character Nora and her family have to move from Korea to Toronto. We fast forward to 12 years. They're now in their early 20s. They find each other via Skype and they're rekindling their friendship, and it might turn into something more, but unfortunately something happens that makes them break apart again. We fast forward another 12 years. Now they're in their mid-30s, and at this point in their lives, one of our characters is in a relationship and another one of our characters is married. So this to me is something that I can personally relate to, and I'm sure you all can relate to it. What if, right? It's that lifelong question. What if I didn't go to Toronto? What if I didn't go to the military? What if I didn't get married? That is the core of this film, and it is just put together in such a way. It is a layered movie. It is an emotional movie. It is something that I think we can all relate to, and the director was able to capture all those feelings in such a perfect way. And again, this falls in the romantic drama category, but the movie, the director, the writing doesn't rely on the tropes that we've all seen before. Like, there's so much nuance going on here. So I just love the way it was put together, as well as the way it looks. The movie is gorgeous to look at. The cinematography, when we're in Seoul, when we're in Korea, when we're in New York, it captures just the essence of reality. This film felt so grounded. It felt so raw and honest, as well as just, we'll talk about the performances here in a second, but the characters, the environments felt lived in. Everything just felt raw. Everything just felt like we were in real time, which I really appreciated. The score was fantastic, but let me talk about these performances, and I want to talk about the lead of the movie, Greta Lee, who plays Nora. Now, Greta Lee is someone that I have been following for a while. I mostly see her in the comedic light. Like, she's been in New Girl, she's been in Girls, she's been in, most recently, in The Morning Show, and she's great. This is the first time I've seen her kind of give me those dramatic beats, and as Nora, she is such a likable, relatable, real character that I just thought her performance was so fantastic, because we see these decades of her life and we're able to just see her grow as a person, have these emotional moments, have the moments of regret throughout the film, but it never felt like mean-hearted. You understood every emotional nuance in her performance, because there's a lot of times where Nora doesn't speak. It's in the body language, it's in the way she carries herself that speaks so much louder than actual words. So I thought Greta just did such a fantastic job But then talking about her co-lead this movie, Teo Yoo, who is the character Hae Sung. And Hae Sung reminded me of myself, man, because he's an individual, only child, I'm an only child. The thing that I related to about this character was I live this life where I respect boundaries. And again, going into the story at this point when they kind of rekindle, when they meet each other again for the first time in a long time, our character Nora is married, and he respects that element of her being married. He doesn't, this is what I love about the film. There's no bad guys, no villain, because I'm going to talk about her husband here in a second, Nora, but I just love Hae Sung, and I just love the nuance in his performance, because there's a lot of moments that you would expect an actor to be like big and bombastic and angry and upset and having all these range of emotions, and this character has emotions, but he's able to convey that in a way where you can see all of what he's thinking within the eyes, the way he leans over, the way he's walking and talking and carrying himself. And it's just, man, such a great performance by both of our leads. But I also want to talk about John Magaro, who is the husband of Nora. And the thing I want to give props to John in this role as Arthur, he is the third wheel. Because again, just put yourself in the shoes. You fall in love with Nora, who again, when you see this movie, it's so easy to fall in love with her because she's such a likable person. She tells you that her young age crush is coming to visit her. And most of the time, a lot of men out there, the insecurities pop up where you're just like, no, I don't want you hanging out with your old love who you could have maybe married in a different lifetime. And he's like, no, experience that. And just seeing what he's able to convey in those moments. There's a scene at a bar with all of our characters, but in particularly the two men, and I just thought he gave such a great performances. So all of our characters were fantastic. The story reminded me so much of a film I saw a couple years ago, because it's an experience that I shared at that time, and that was The Worst Person in the World, which was one of my favorite films of, what was it, 2021, 2022. This movie reminded me so much of that, because at this point in my life, now I think this film could be watched at many different levels, teenagers, adults, people, elderly people, but I think this film captures that essence of like being at a point in your life where you see things from like the what if perspective. What if I would have said no? I would have been nicer. I would have, said this or did this. I'm at that point in my life now. And again, it's not like living in this life of regret, but you just think in your head, like, what if I would have did this or that and the third? But you appreciate, you as you grow up and hopefully you mature, you can appreciate those moments, move on from those moments, learn from those moments. And what this film does, it talks about your past life, and maybe, just maybe, you might cross each other's paths again. So it's just such a beautiful film that I just related to, that I love. Not every film you have to relate to, but it helps when you can relate to the narrative and the story and the characters. In this film, I was just like, I'm seeing myself on screen at a lot of points in this narrative that I absolutely love. This film is heartwarming, sincere, it's subtle, it's intimate, it's poignant, it has nostalgia, there's love, there's regret. It's just so much going on that I love within less than 2 hours. This is like an hour and 45 minutes, and I could have been there for 4 hours because I was just so ingrained, so enamored by what was going on screen. Let's talk about some criticisms. If I'm being honest, this isn't really cons, because it doesn't really hurt the narrative. It's just something that was going on in my mind as I was watching it, because I was so in love with these characters. These characters have parents, and we see the parents when they're at a young age, but at certain points of the film, I'm like, man, I would love to have a scene with them as adults and talking about the situation that they're in for both Nora and Hae Sung, but also Hae Sung has a relationship in this film, someone that he's in love with. I would have liked to have seen a couple more scenes of that relationship, because we get to see Nora and her husband Arthur in their relationship, but we never really get to, not spending, scenes of one with this couple, but I would have loved to have seen more moments of Hae Sung and his relationship with Nora was a reason why certain things played out. I'll just kind of leave it at that. But again, it wasn't in the movie. We don't spend the time with the parents. We don't spend the time with the relationship with Hae Sung and his girlfriend. But there's a reason because of that, because it's not purposeful. There's reasons we don't see that because it doesn't change the narrative. It's just something that I would have liked to have seen because I was just so in love with these stories. So honestly, my only criticism is the movie's too short, because I wanted to be in these characters' minds and relationships and their conversations so much, because they just did such a great job. So before I give you all my score, and if you should see it, I think you can pretty tell how I feel about this movie at this point, but let me know in the comments again, what did you think about the film once you've seen it? If you enjoyed the movie, if you enjoyed today's commentary and my thoughts of the film, consider hitting the like button, sharing today's review, and consider subscribing to the channel. Overall, past lives Lives is such an emotional journey like no other. There is so many moments when this film felt so real. It is layered with so many earnest emotions, and it captures that haunting and heartbreaking reality of what if so perfectly. The entire cast is superb, but Greta Lee manages to convey decades of feelings in such a perfect way. This first-time director, Celine Song, did such a great job of crafting this movie. The cinematography was excellent. I was able to keep myself together for the most part, emotionally speaking. I was able to keep my eyes pretty dry, but once we get to that ending and the way that the film edits the last scenes, and when we get that monologue of "see you then," I was absolutely torn to pieces. This movie was deeply moving, all while being subtle and quiet at the same time. Don't miss your opportunity to see this incredibly beautiful masterpiece. I'm going to give Past Lives a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10. This movie was perfect, y'all, and I recommend you all give it a watch. And when you do, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What worked? What didn't work? Did you get teary-eyed? Like I said, I was pretty much good. I'm like getting emotional, like, oh, that hurts the heart, but I wasn't tearing up. But when we got to the end, and I won't spoil it, but this film is the edits were perfect. There's an edit in this movie when we see our characters at a certain point where they're standing on the street. We have this one take, and we edit back to an earlier time in the film. When that happened, I couldn't even stop myself from getting emotional, man. So I can go on and on and on about Past Lives, but it is one of my favorite films this year. It's that type of movie, and man, I'm so glad I saw it. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments, pros, cons, what worked, what didn't work, all that good stuff. I thank you all for watching today's review. Just a reminder before you leave to like, share, comment, consider subscribing and joining the community, as you can see on the screen now by clicking this button. Come and join the fam. Check out all my reviews I've done so far this year. Check out my most recent review, and I'll catch you all on the next video.